Good, thank you. Ellie?
Hello.
Hello.
My update about the high school is kind of from the seniors' perspective. Our final reach internship or project paperwork is due this Friday, so that means most seniors know what they're doing. They've had their project pitch meetings or they've set up internships. They are supposed to start, I think, 40 days from today.
Yay.
I'm pretty sure.
Countdown's
Yeah.
on, huh?
Yeah, that's exciting. The seniors had a meeting in the auditorium about like final senior year things, what needs to be done in order to graduate. That was the date for graduation practice. The seniors have like a scholarship night if you've been awarded that. The date of graduation. Senior prom tickets have been being sold, so most people have bought that. Most students have paid their senior dues. It's all coming together. And then I do know that I'm pretty sure it was the juniors, it might have also been sophomores, but they had a career fair. So they had people from the city or from local areas come and talk to them about career clusters they thought they might be interested in. So that's pretty cool as well. Other than that,
And
that's
everybody's getting their college acceptance.
yes, yeah. So we have the Instagram page going where all the seniors post where they're gonna go next year. So that's also really fun to look at, see where everyone's going off to.
Exciting time of the year.
Yep.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. I'm
Right.
going to invite Sadie to come up. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Now, from the sophomore point of view from the high school, recently we had winter sports come to an end, but spring sports tryouts are right next week, so that's very exciting. The high school's production of Pippin is going to be taking place this weekend, so everyone should definitely go see it. I heard it's going to be great. Sophomores also had a home advisory a couple of weeks ago to make presentations based off their Naviance results for a test they took about professions they might be interested in pursuing. And so they could sort of just take a deeper dive into looking at what their options are for their future based on that test that they took. We also had course selection start for the past couple of weeks, so students throughout BHS and now the middle school 8th graders have been choosing their courses for next year, which is super exciting. So yeah,
Excellent. Any questions for Sadie?
thank you.
Making sure nobody came online. Thank you very much. And I didn't see anybody else, any of our students log in, so. Okay, our next item on the agenda is to get an update on our ELA pilot and some recommendations coming forward for next year. And this is kind of an exciting night for those that weren't part of the committee previously. We ran an ELA pilot last year and made decisions regarding fifth grade. We didn't think that we found the right fit for our grades 6 through 8, so we actually extended the pilot for a second year and piloted 2 additional programs. And we do think that we have the right fit this time. And so we'll be moving forward, and we're kind of excited about the work that is to come. And at the end, after Ms. Oxford gives her presentation, while this isn't a major shift in program, when we did review the text that we would be reading at the high school, we brought it to CISL, and so we are bringing it forward tonight to you as well for your, hopefully, support of the recommendation moving forward. I'm very thankful for all of the work that Ms. Oxford put in with her team of teachers. It's a lot of work to pilot a program and to have to do it for 2 years in a row. It was a lot of dedication and work by the teaching staff in the ELA department, and Lauren had to coordinate all of that. So thank you for all of your work.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I'm very excited to share this with you all tonight. So I'm Lauren Oxford. I'm the Humanities Curriculum Director here at the middle school for grades 5 through 8. And I'm going to share with you our findings and feedback from the pilot from this past school year. So I will review this evening background information to make sure, as Dr. Flaherty shared, that we're all on the same page. I will review both of the programs that we piloted, and then I will share feedback from teachers and students, and at the end, we will have a recommendation for what we will move forward with. So for this school year, I was the facilitator, as Dr. Flaherty shared, of the pilot. And in this round, in pilot part 2, as we call it, we had all of the teachers in grades 6, 7, and 8, the core ELA teachers, participate, as well as our special educators and our EL, or multilingual learner support teachers as well. Those of you who have been with us in our K-5 and the adoption throughout the middle school have seen this diagram many times, but just hitting home again that nothing will be perfect. However, we feel, especially tonight, that we found a very strong fit for Beverly Middle School grades 6 through 8 ELA. These have been our non-negotiables throughout the pilot process for the last almost 2 years at this point. So you can look these over, but some really important ones from us that I will highlight is a flow that made sense from the elementary into the middle school and then moving ahead into the high school. Aligning with a knowledge-based approach to ELA has been a huge shift that our teachers are working through, and we've done a lot of learning together on that. Opportunities for project-based learning, core experiences for each grade level, a structured component of teaching, meeting expectations on curator ed reports, and of course being aligned with the frameworks. This is a timeline of our pilot from this past year. So in May, after we realized that we did not find the perfect fit for grades 6 through 8, we narrowed down, the administration team narrowed down to 2 programs that we felt really comfortable with piloting. And then we also provided training in the first program before the school year ended. In September, we began our pilot of EL through Imagine Learning, which was our first pilot curriculum. And then in January, we had training and began piloting our second pilot curriculum, which is Reading Reconsidered. And after each pilot, I gathered findings and feedback, and in February, I gathered all of the findings and feedback together through surveys and in-person interviews, and of course, classroom observations and walkthroughs. And here I am today presenting to you our findings. I wanted to be sure to provide an overview for our ELA schedule at Beverly Middle School because it varies per grade level from the upper school to the lower school. So in grade 6, our teachers are team teachers, and our humanities teachers are teaching ELA and social studies. Depending on the day, they have between 90 to 120 minutes for that block for shared both subjects. In 7th and 8th grade, it shifts to subject-specific model, so the teachers are just responsible for English. The schedule, as I'm sure many of us know, also follow a waterfall schedule, so they miss a block each day, or each week, excuse me. And the time varies from 48 to 60 minutes. I'm now going to go into an overview of each of the programs that we piloted, beginning with EL, which was our first pilot. So EL, which was published through Imagine Learning, follows a knowledge-building approach to ELA. There are, we piloted, for the sake of this test, we piloted 1 module. There are 4 modules per year, per grade level. The modules are about 8 to 9 weeks, and within that larger module, there's 3 smaller units that build upon each other, so the students have a strong foundation of learning at the end. The lessons are designed for 60 minutes. However, in application, our teachers found that they were much longer. There are varied assessments throughout the pilot, including mid and end of unit assessments and an end of module task. Through the module, students are reading 1 full core novel, and then they have supplemental articles, videos, and texts that they're also engaging in to further support the comprehension of that novel. There's a student workbook, and in this program, there was an option for digital and paper resources for the student and the teacher. There's also an online platform that students could complete their work on, and the teacher could also engage in slides through that platform and other resources. EL is endorsed by the Knowledge Matters campaign, which is an organization that works with Natalie Wexler, who is a huge proponent of knowledge building ELA instruction. And they have endorsed this program as well as Wit and Wisdom, which we have adopted for our elementary and 5th grade. And it also meets expectations on ed reports. The estimated investment for EL for adoption for grades 6 through 8 would be for 1 year about $270,000. 3 years would be about $430,000. And for a 6-year adoption, it would be $640,000 estimated.
Can you give a brief overview or explanation about knowledge-based?
Sure, yes, absolutely. So the crux of a knowledge-based approach to ELA, which was a shift from what was previously happening generally at BMS and in many schools across the country really, is a knowledge-building approach to ELA provides students with an authentic immersion essentially in a topic that the novel is connected to, and it aligns to skills and standards as well. However, they are not random isolated memorization of skills and standards. It is tied to whatever the students are reading and learning about. Whereas a skills-focused approach would be, for example, let's focus on main idea. Here's how you find main idea. And then let's practice main idea, practice, 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 memorize, and then move on to a different skill. So knowledge building provides students with tons of background knowledge on a topic, key vocabulary, writing that's authentically connected. Everything is surrounding one topic while being aligned still to skills and standards that are appropriate for their age. So the second program that we piloted is called Reading Reconsidered. These were novel studies that were, again, following a knowledge-building approach. They were modular units. We did pilot, again, 1 unit, just like the last program. However, they're designed to last 4 to 6 weeks. The units can also stand alone, meaning they can be done in any order. So in theory, if we went forward with this, we could pick and choose the order of the books. The lessons are designed for 90 minutes. However, they are strategically, encouraged and designed to be adjusted to fit the varying schedule, which I'll speak to more in a moment. There are many variety of assessments. There's mid and end of unit assessments, there's vocabulary assessments, there's knowledge quizzes, which I'll speak to again in a minute. There's summative writing throughout. Students are writing almost every day, and then there's longer assessments at the end. There's also homework and exit tickets as well that teachers use as assessments of learning that they could provide immediate feedback the next day or even in the lesson oftentimes. Similar to EL, in Reading Reconsidered, students were reading 1 core novel throughout the unit. They were also exposed to supplemental resources, text, nonfiction articles, poems, videos, etc., that are again tied to that same topic to help build that background knowledge on whatever they were reading. Students were provided with student lesson pages or packets, and teachers had the option, for the sake of the pilot, to explore either a paper option or a digital option. Everything that we were provided with is editable, which was really beneficial for students who needed accommodations, modifications, etc. And the teacher guide was similar. We had digital and print. The instructional routines in Reading Reconsidered are based on Teach Like a Champion, and these are kind of the best practice of, solid instruction in all aspects, not just ELA, for teachers to use. Similar to EL, it is also endorsed by the Knowledge Matters campaign. And throughout the pilot of this program, students engaged in reading cycles, which I'll speak to in a moment, that really promotes deep thinking and really dissecting very complex text. The estimated investment for the resources alone would be about $60,000 for this program, and that's for 5 years. This is a sample of the novels that Reading Reconsidered includes. You'll notice that some of them have a slash over them, and those are because they are part of our core newly adopted last spring ELA resource at the high school. So the novels here are very rigorous. As you can see, about 5 of them are on our 9th or 10th grade list. So this would significantly increase the level of rigor that our students are exposed to when they're reading text at the middle school, and they're also fluid in what grade levels you can use and implement these texts due to the Lexile bans. And you can see they're very diverse. This is a draft, proposed, very draft list that Dr. Flaherty and I worked to put together the other day, that we will, if we were to adopt Reading Reconsidered, moving ahead with input from teachers and the administration team, thank you, we would have a list that looks something like this with the goal of having 5 units per grade. And you can see at the bottom, there's an option to have a shared unit for poetry for 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. And because we can kind of pick and choose where these novels would fit, we have the option to also share resources across grade levels. And poetry is something that I always hear teachers saying, we wish we had resources, we wish we had time to do this. Again, this is a draft. So this is kind of a snapshot of a day in the life of the Reading Reconsidered curriculum. Every lesson has a predictable component. So the lesson would start with the do now, which is a part of our Beverly Middle School culture anyway. So that was really a seamless kind of implementation there. There's explicit vocabulary. Then students are exposed to a knowledge organizer. And this is a sample of the knowledge organizer, and some parents may have seen this come home, or you might have seen it posted on Google Classroom. This essentially is a one-page document that provides the students and the teacher with all of the knowledge that they would need to know at the end in order to, be experts in whatever that topic was. So as you heard tonight, our 8th graders were reading Night by Elie Wiesel, which is about the Holocaust. They're reading about a very heavy topic. However, our teachers did a beautiful job. I was so proud of them, and I know a lot of us were. And the knowledge organizer breaks down key vocabulary. If it's set in a different time, it would provide a timeline. It would provide literary terms as well as context and comprehension key terms that are needed to understand the novel. And teachers are teaching this in small chunks, and a lot of our teachers tried various techniques. For example, in 6th grade, when they taught specific terms, the students would highlight them. And then throughout the weeks, they have quizzes. So at the end, our students are experts in everything on this knowledge organizer. And it's knowledge that Reading Reconsidered says passes the 10-year test. So it's not random topics and knowledge. It's knowledge that students will have benefits to know later on as their progression of learning. There's also, as you heard earlier, reading cycles. So each day, you can see here they're explained. Students are engaging in various types of reading. It can be shared reading, it can be a read aloud with the teacher, it can be independent reading with a specific task, and something we call phase reading, which also allows our students to practice fluency aloud in middle school, which, yes, our teachers said we need more of. And it's also creating a safe classroom environment as well. There's also exit tickets and homework, both of which I spoke to previously, but provided our teachers with actionable data as to how their students are responding. So then the next day, or even in the moment in the lesson, depending on when it fell, they could make changes to make sure the students better understood their learning. Reading Reconsidered also has students writing every day. So there's 3 main types of writing: developmental, which is our sentence level writing; formative, where students are responding to text in the moment, so maybe writing on a sticky note or in their journals without worrying about the semantics and syntax of things; and then our more traditional summative writing, which happen in the forms of paragraph or your longer, more traditional essays. Writing would have to be supplemented, which we kind of knew going into this, and so we have a very specific plan as to how that would work. I've been talking with Paul Casey at the high school about how we can align our writing practices better. So if we were to move to adopt Reading Reconsidered, we would incorporate many pre-existing strategies. Many of our teachers use CER, which stands for Claim, Evidence, Reasoning, or in our 5th grade, and students are coming up from the elementary knowing this, in Wit and Wisdom, they have something called TwoSeek, which organizes their informational writing. These are just acronyms in common language that we would adopt to make sure across grade levels, students are coming in knowing something from when they come in from elementary school and they're going to the high school having the same common language. So we would create a writing map with a vertical progression from grades 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then that would move into the high school. So it would be very clear as to what teachers are explicitly teaching based on the standards. And then we would either align that with wit and wisdom, where they're coming in from, or with what the high school is doing and share that. And much of this work with writing is already happening. It's just aligning the common language and the common graphic organizers. So now I'm going to go into the feedback from teachers and students. So throughout the program, pilot rather, I did surveys, and then at the end I did teacher interviews. And these are kind of a summary of the pros and cons from our teachers for the first pilot program for EL. So overall, they thought the texts were engaging. Teachers found that the paper workbook and having the digital was helpful. The writing was very scaffolded and broken down, and a lot of the routines were helpful. Teachers were also a fan of the morphology component, as well as the scaffolded options that the curriculum provided. On the other side, some cons. The program, as I mentioned, had a very robust online component. However, our teachers felt like the slides were dull, and there was also way too many resources within the slides to feasibly teach in the time of their lesson. They felt that it was much too long to be spent on one core text. There was many assessments, and it did not provide them enough time to actually make that data actionable for students to benefit from. The online platform was very overwhelming for them. There was some lacking of visuals for our multilingual learners and for many students who would include and benefit from that, from vocabulary. And as you can see, there was many other cons as well.
Just for the newer members, you will receive a copy
Oh,
of
yeah.
this presentation.
Thank you. So in these interviews, teachers organically came up with some quotes that I feel like were really impactful, and I just wanted to share some with you. So one teacher shared that the rigor was there, but it's not built in a way to access it. Another said, with EL, the path did not seem meaningful or linear. Vocabulary was the biggest strength in teaching morphology. It falls short in so many aspects while expecting so much. That's from the mouths of our teachers. Similarly, I did the same interviews with the same questions for Reading Reconsidered, and you can see it's almost mirrored with the pros and cons. Teachers found that the resources were extremely rigorous. It provided with a deep understanding and text analysis for our students. The lesson structure they actually thought was very beneficial. Students were so engaged, which I can attest to as having done walkthroughs many, many times. The reading cycles held everyone accountable. There was many and a variety of assessments. It was extremely flexible to meet the needs of all of our learners, including our needy population as well as our most gifted population. The exit tickets, as I spoke to, gave really meaningful feedback. The texts were captivating. The knowledge organizer was absolutely a fan favorite for students and teachers. The resources were editable. They're writing every day, and we have the option to implement fully paper-based or on Google Classroom or the iPads, or a hybrid model. Some cons, as I mentioned, we would need to supplement with writing. There was a bit of trial and error for our teachers with how students should best respond to the text prompts and whether they would work in packets or respond in journals, but they figured out what worked for them along the way. In 6th grade, it's always a challenge to balance ELA and social studies because they are responsible for both subjects in that time. And our teachers found that creating the slides initially was a lot. However, it ended up creating a really nice collaboration amongst the team once they figured it out. Here are some quotes again that came up when I was talking with teachers. The text was accessible, the thinking was deep, student engagement is so much higher than any other resources we've piloted. If the goal is knowledge building, this one has the most background knowledge. Usability and understanding of the structure allows for deeper learning and teaching with confidence. That one's my favorite. Overall, this is the best one we've piloted by far. And my most reluctant readers are engaged and completing the work, even independently. So some pretty powerful quotes. I also completed a survey for teachers, many surveys, but one at the end, comparing the same questions. You can see the areas here they were surveyed on, from rigor, writing, assessment, resources, usability, culturally responsiveness, scaffolds for populations. And you can see in all areas, Reading Reconsidered significantly outperformed EL in our teachers' opinions. Additionally, students were surveyed. Students were surveyed in the areas of rigor, literature, discourse, and instructional understanding. And these questions and terms were explained to the students in a way that they could understand what we were asking of them. They were surveyed the same exact survey for both programs as well. So this is just a snapshot of the student responses. Overall, when I was looking at the feedback from both programs, almost every question resulted in a bell curve of identical almost
bell
feedback from students. It was kind of funny. So the student feedback in the survey, and I had over 400 responses in each of the programs, did not sway one way or another. There may have been a 5 or 10% difference in one of the percentages, but it wasn't impactful enough to change the projection of where we were going. But I did want to include it so you could see as well that we did survey students.
Ms. Ox, can I add one thing? Just because I don't want to leave Finn's comment kind of off the table, is when you're teaching a knowledge-based curriculum, it's a change in learning for students as well as for teachers, because instead of that quick surface read and reading a chapter a night, it's going more deep. And so it does become a little repetitive because you're going deeper in and you want that concept and content to stay. But also, this was a pilot, and so the teachers, if we go with whichever program we go in, will get substantial professional development that will help with moving past that. So they're on a learning curve as well, so that makes things go a little bit slower than it normally would. But it was a very valuable comment.
Yeah, it was. Thank you. Also, just to speak to that too, I mentioned earlier that the texts are so rigorous, and within the reading cycle, students are really dissecting small chunks of the text so we can ensure that they're understanding. Because as you saw from that list that I previously showed, many of those books are appropriately so on our high school list. So they're very challenging texts, so they have to spend a lot of time digging in to understand and ensure comprehension. So after sharing all of that feedback, reviewing the evidence, looking at surveys, talking to teachers, doing walkthroughs, it was very, very clear that our BMS staff strongly supported the adoption of Reading Reconsidered novel units over the adoption of EL, the first program that we piloted. A Reading Reconsidered adoption would accomplish alignment with the ELA practices occurring at Beverly High School with the recent implementation of their novel studies. It would also accomplish the creation of a writing alignment mapping work, which would happen before the school year would start. It will provide a common baseline for teachers so that our students can engage in high-quality instructional materials. A strong knowledge-based approach to ELA that would benefit them now and in future years to come. And it will strengthen the instructional practice that are happening at Beverly Middle School in grades 6 through 8 through the incorporation of these Reading Reconsidered strategies that are really explained and shared in the book that would happen in professional development as well as our grade level meetings with our teachers. This is an overview of the cost breakdown. So the overall cost for the materials themselves, the units and the novels, is around $60,000. As you can see, it's broken down. However, we also have included in there a very extensive, as Dr. Flaherty shared, professional development. That would be 2 days in person, which is so exciting, here in Beverly for our teachers. We've also included printing cost because we have to decide how we're going to get these resources created and printed. as well as the Reading Reconsidered text, which is a book that we can use as professional learning for our teachers to supplement the strategies that are incorporated in the units. So the overall estimated investment is around $71,000, including all of that extra resources. I found it was important to share. Last week, I presented a very similar presentation of our findings with the various members of our Beverly Middle School administration team, as well as our district leadership team. And the conversation ended with the team unanimously supporting the adoption of these novel studies for our BMS ELA 6 through 8 students to have as our core resource. Are there any questions that I can answer for you guys?
If you could go back to the budget.
Sure.
I just want to make sure I understood. So there's 5 units for grades 6 through 8.
Yep.
That's $6,000 or $60,000?
6,000.
So the units are 6,000. So each unit is $500, and we have rights to that resource for 5 years. And if the math is not adding up, it's because they give you 1 unit free when you purchase.
Okay.
Yes, but each unit costs $500.
Just seems like the scale compared to the EL option is just
Absolutely.
magnitudes different.
The financial investment is dramatically different.
Okay.
Well, the difference
Absolutely.
is EL is a complete program, and with Reading Reconsidered, it's really a facilitated, structured novel program. So the biggest cost for us with this are the next 3 areas, which is the purchasing of each of the novels that they would read.
And the investment of some of our educators' time to create shared slides.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. I was just making sure I was understanding the math.
Yes, it's a wild cost difference. Absolutely. Any other questions?
Just curious, is there an expectation that the students will read at home?
So in certain units in 7th and 8th grade, there is a set expectation for specific reading at home. However, we will be purchasing within the budget one-to-one copies for students so they can take those the novels home and annotate on sticky notes. They won't be writing in the books, but annotate in the text to provide deeper understanding. And yes, they will be reading at home. So we would have in 5th grade in Wit and Wisdom, they're reading at home in certain lessons as well. So it would have a clear progression of reading for homework that, when appropriate, based on the lesson, that would then provide them with a readiness, if you will, for 9th grade and so on.
Lauren?
All students would be reading.
Yeah.
All
Yes.
students would be reading
Yes.
at home, okay.
Yeah, and we would provide go ahead.
You go back to the list of the
Sure.
books.
Yep. There you go.
That we had this, no, the next one that we did. That was a conversation, Karen, that we had while we were trying to develop what a progression could look like. And the fact that we need, especially as 7th and 8th graders, to be building that stamina for high school. And so the goal would be to have 4 units throughout the school year. But you'll see that there are 5 books because we want whatever book they're not going to do the deep unit cover for to be an independent read throughout the school so that they can be reading at home. And so if they're not doing a book, they should be having an independent book going throughout the year as well. So one would be one of these, and then hopefully they would be doing some choice as well. With on the budget list, one of the things we're going to do as a UDL strategy is to purchase audiobooks for students that might need to hear it while they're reading, and also some of the books in other languages, so that the students could be reading in Spanish or in Portuguese at home and pre-reading what they might be doing in class the next day.
Thanks. I think Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza has a question.
Sure.
Yes, thank you for your presentation and also taking the time to make sure that there were many voices involved in the decision. I am curious about the $30,000 of professional development and what that includes and whether that would be ongoing for the term of the agreement.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it includes a 2-day in-person session from the Reading Reconsidered company. It's a very small company, and the people who would be coming to train us are the writers of the curriculum and previous teachers of middle school, but also of this curriculum as well. So it would include 2 days. I don't have the specific agenda for each day, but I know that it includes ensuring the teachers are really competent understanding all elements of the curriculum as well as their approach. It is a one-time cost that we would spend that very large sum on. And then you'll see that there's also a PD licensing fee, and that $1,000 guarantees that I can re-implement the PD with their resources and their slides at any time. So if we had new teachers or we needed to revisit an area, we own the rights to that professional development. So it's a one-time cost of $30,000. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay.
I had a couple questions. One, thinking about challenging text, you said it really drills down into like specific text. Finn mentioned a lot of repetitiveness. How does this translate to sub-separate populations, differentiating the instruction? How accessible is this curriculum to modifying in the moment in a classroom with students?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So this was for many of our teachers, the fourth program that some of them have piloted in the last 18 months, if they were with me from the beginning of our resource pilot. And overall, without a doubt, from my Learning Center teachers and our core teachers as well for ELA, every one of them told me that this was the most beneficial and easiest to modify and make accessible for all learners. I think a lot of that comes to the fact that everything we're getting is editable, and the resource encourages us in meaningful and realistic ways to provide sentence stems, scaffolds, cut down the times of the lesson. The visuals and explicit vocabulary is already there. And within the reading cycles, there was kind of a natural time that if students needed, a B grid service or a small group, many of our Learning Center teachers said that they could practice their fluency goals within that time in a smaller group that was more beneficial to the students. So there was many means of modifying and accommodating for all populations, and then also providing a reach for the students who needed it as well.
Second question I had, 5 years is a long time to own a curriculum, and having it for a professional development, investing $30,000, having the rights and the licensing to continue to teach new teachers. Will there be updates with the curriculum? Will those updates cost money down the road? And how will that translate to as well?
Also a great question. So within we own this for 5 years per the resource, right? However, any updates that happen to the unit are automatically sent to me, which it happened actually with one of the units that we piloted in our 6th grade. It was originally designed for a 5th grade unit, although, as I mentioned, they're so flexible and fluid and rigorous that they can go, in kind of up and down spans, if that makes sense. And based on feedback from teachers, not our teachers, other teachers across the country who piloted it and implemented it, they adjusted the standards to meet 6th grade because they found that it was rigorous. And then we have access to that update immediately. So we would get the updates automatically. It all comes through Google Drive via Dropbox, and then we have the updates right away.
I want to just add to
Sure.
that, and I think this is actually one of the benefits over having a program like Written Wisdom or EL. The financial expense of that program really limits you from changing from that program in any short amount of time. Where this is a novel study, if a new book came out or if they added a new unit with a new book that we really wanted to implement in any grade, you saw from the list that the investment is $7,000 or $8,000. It's just to buy the new books and $500 for the curriculum. So it actually does allow us more flexibility than if we were going with a full program, because it's a novel approach.
I had one more quick question, and your presentation was great. This was
Thank
really
you.
informative. So from the lens of a student that's an L student, English learner,
Sure.
my question is the curriculum typically is on computer-based, and so a lot of those curriculums, the primary language is English, secondary language becomes Spanish. What is the ability to change languages into Portuguese and to other various languages as well?
Yeah, also great question. So the resources come to us digitally. We have the option to implement pencil to paper or hybrid, as I mentioned, or digitally. However, everything is editable. So we could find a means working with our experts in multilingual learner instruction to modify the language, which many of our, if I could show you my Google Drive right now, you could see I'm thinking of 7th and 8th grade specifically, but we have multiple languages of our knowledge organizers, of the, the nonfiction articles they're reading, of the text themselves as well. And the teachers did that in just a pilot. So I know they will be fully invested to make it accessible to all of our students, and it's very easy to do because everything is editable through the drive, absolutely, and then can be printed or implemented digitally in their native language.
And our director of multilingual learners was Caitlin Beleza. She was part of the team that helped make the decision.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate all the work you put into this. Has this been peer reviewed, and is it possible for us to get some of the what people have said, what other teachers have said about it, schools that have used the curriculum? I'd love to see that.
So as Lauren had mentioned, this has been approved by Knowledge Matters. It has not yet been reviewed by Ed Report, so it's the one area in our non-negotiables that we had to discuss, and we all felt that the benefits outweighed the fact that it hadn't been reviewed on Curate yet. And the only reason mainly is that because they are a new company, it's more of a novel base than a program. And so it's hard because it's on the individual novels, not a larger unit to look at. And the biggest thing is that in order to get onto Curate or Ed Report, you have to have a certain number of units finished, and it's 40, and they're at 36. So they anticipate being reviewed by Curate and Ed Reports soon. We're on the cutting edge. It's kind of new.
Yeah. And I could absolutely share with you, on the Knowledge Matters campaign, it does go very in-depth into all of their areas that they endorse and explains why.
I'm going to try to move us to a vote because we do have one other item on the agenda that we want to address tonight. And so if there aren't any other burning questions, you always answer more questions if you have them as they come up. But we would like to have a motion to endorse the moving forward of the Reading Reconsidered program for Beverly Middle School grades 6 through 8.
So I will make a recommendation that we forward this to the full school committee with our endorsement for 6 through 8.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? If not, Ms. Abel, can you call a roll, please?
I have a question and a comment. Is it possible to get more information about what is covered with the $30,000 of professional development before we make a decision?
Do you have?
Yeah, I can get that to you, absolutely.
It just sounds like a really steep price for 2 days. I'm just trying to understand, as somebody who also provides professional development, what is
Well, to give you
included in that,
some
and what are the
perspective.
rights and what that means going forward.
I can tell you, with working with all kinds of different professional development through Wit and Wisdom speakers that we are planning, this really isn't on the expensive side. We're looking at anywhere from $20,000 for 1 day to $70,000 for 3 or 4 days of training.
Right, I'm just curious because sometimes that comes with the ability to have ongoing support to implement a program. This is a slightly different program, so I'm just trying to understand what ongoing support looks like, if any, with something that's relatively new like this.
Yeah, I can speak to that briefly. They do provide, they're probably of all the, I've experienced many curriculum reps through this experience. And they have been the fastest and most responsive via Zoom meetings and email and phone calls to every beck and call and question that I had for them. And that relationship is really powerful for them because they're not a large published company. They really, take to heart their partnerships with schools. And I know that they said they would want to come here if we move ahead and observe our teachers and provide us professional learning and feedback in that way as well. But I can get you more information as well as what those 2 days would include with an agenda.
The delay will, we can get more information, but I would also ask that you consider what a delay would be, because it would be another month before CISL meets, and we want to lock in dates before they're gone, before the end of the school year.
Okay. I believe we have a motion on the table to refer it to the school committee, which has its next meeting, committee of the whole, at the end of the month. And I think we're ready to call the roll call vote from this committee. Sadie Brennan? Yes. Ellie Corbett? Yes. Did Finn just walk out? I think she had a ride. Okay. Is absent. Kate Twombly?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Katie Kraft?
Yes.
Matthew Weaver?
Yes.
Karen Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Kenna Mackenzie DeFranza?
Yes.
And Rachel Abel, yes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, with one absent. So we will move that along to the school committee for committee of the whole.
And we'll get that deeper information for you before that vote.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll say though, we have one other item left on the agenda. But we're at 7:30, so do you want to?
I think we can run a little bit over, but we do have students and families here
Right.
for our next agenda.
Okay. And our last item on the agenda is a math visioning update.
Do you want me to take that one away? You can do the
Okay.
Vienna if you don't mind.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, so first of all, I see that there are a lot of people here, so thank you all for coming. We have been in the process of bringing forward our math visioning, presenting it to the committee. This is our third, I think, update that we've brought forward. And clearly, this is a very interesting topic and has brought a lot of people out. So that makes me very excited because I think it's really good when we have the investment of the stakeholders and we get to hear from everybody. So we're going to start there to begin with. And I want to make sure that all of you understand that we really did hear from all of you. Our goal all along was to ensure that we were addressing a number of goals. And so first I want to run through what those goals were, and I'll go through each one of them a little more specifically as we go forward. So when we embarked on our visioning process, we sort of said, well, what are our goals? Why are we doing this? What is important? Where are we going to work to take a look at what's happening? One of the first was equity. Equity is certainly a part of the vision of this school committee and the district and some of the things that we're really trying to move forward on. To us, in this particular situation, equity is ensuring that all students have access to accelerated learning and to advanced coursework. The second item that we really felt was imperative for us to address was to eliminate tracking, and tracking in the sense that we develop pathways where cohorts move from one classroom to another classroom as one particular cohort, and it's leveled all the time, so that there are learning experiences that seem to differ from one cohort of groups to the other. And we acknowledged in the first couple of meetings, for those of you who weren't here, that one of the challenges that we have is that we perpetuate tracking inadvertently in Beverly by some of the ways that we sort of offer or at this point in time use specific criterion to assign students to one set of math or another. In the beginning, it used to be a separation between foreign language and literacy. For those of you who have been here for a while, some children would be assigned to reading and some to foreign language, and it really in essence was creating a tracking program. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we decided, we were taking that into consideration and making sure that we were eliminating that tracking. We wanted to make sure that we were addressing the learning needs of all students, all of our students, whether they're gifted or whether they have some challenges. We want to make sure that we're meeting students and providing them with what they want. And we wanted to also make sure that we were strengthening the foundations of math instruction. One of the real challenges that all of us face across the Commonwealth, across the nation right now, is that math took a significant hit throughout the past 4 or 5 years in terms of the pandemic, in terms of missed instruction, and we all know that we sort of feel like we want to make sure we're putting a specific emphasis on what we're doing within math and with it. I mean, we do it in everything. You just saw our ELA, so we take all of our academics really seriously, but in this particular one, we're looking specifically at math. So our original proposal that we brought forward, again, I would call it our original ideas that we brought forward, because what we were doing is coming forward to both the Curriculum and Instruction Committee and the school committee, starting that conversation early, was designed to address these issues. We were clear at the outset that we were coming to the committee early in the process because we wanted to invite stakeholders to share their thoughts and ideas. We appreciate all of you that reached out to provide feedback. We, as with any new idea, or I could call a snow day, there are differenting opinions on either side of the equation. Now, get the math pun, the equation, I'm only kidding. Tonight, we're back with another update. We've taken the feedback we've received. We've refined our original proposal in response to some questions that were raised, as well as some continued research that we did, as well as a review of data as it has become available throughout this school year. I'm going to kind of go through each one of these items with you and share our thinking and where we stand right now. We continue to address equity by ensuring that our proposal eliminates tracking that currently begins in grade 6. Whatever final programming we land on must eliminate the identification and labeling of students at an early stage in their development, as well as address the imbalance that is created through our current scheduling. We want to ensure that all students have equal access to any course offerings that we provide in the same manner that we hope to provide our students successful transitions to freshman academy prior to making selections for advanced courses. We believe that collaborative, data-driven discussions with parents and students as they are deciding on which courses best meet their goals and needs best align with the district's vision for opportunity, for access, and for excellence in academics. There is always a fear when new ideas are introduced that lead to change to the current model that it will end up being detrimental to a subset of students. That is the conundrum of equity work. Our commitment is that any shift or change that we make will not lower the standard, but rather raise the expectations for all students. We also want to acknowledge that our original proposal to eliminate algebra was to eliminate algebra in grade 8. This was perhaps the part of the proposal that was met with the biggest concern for many members of the community. We want to say to all of you, we heard your feedback, and in particular, I want to say that there were many thoughtful emails, reflective discussions, and they helped us as we were framing our planning. So I truly, truly appreciate the time and thought that went into some of the communications that were sent to the committee, to myself. As a result, our update this evening does not include the elimination of algebra for grade 8. Instead, we have redesigned our offerings, shifting to a choice for all 8th grade students between pre-algebra or algebra 1. We've examined our scheduling, we've looked at our staffing, and our available support options, and we feel confident in our ability to ensure students can select the course that best meets their learning needs. To be clear, we will continue to offer the robust math pathways that we outlined in our original proposal for all students who choose pre-algebra, with a pathway and a commitment that they will reach Calculus AB during high school, so families and students can feel confident that selecting the traditional pathway that provides a full foundational year of Algebra 1 in freshman year will not limit their math options in high school. We remain committed to the idea that most students will benefit from this option. In preparation for this, we'll continue to offer accelerated math in grade 7 for all students. Again, this is done with a commitment to eliminate tracking, eliminate subjective criteria and placement, and rather make it an option for anyone who wishes to enroll in the pathway. I've met with administrators at both the middle and high school to ensure that our current proposals will not impact the elimination of this tracking. We will shift to a scheduling option for grades 7 and 8 that will not pose the challenges of tracking that our current acceleration model inadvertently creates. We remain committed to ensuring that all of our offerings and our programs of studies welcomes all students and that we offer the necessary supports to ensure that the opportunities we create meet the needs of our learners. And finally, we want to underscore the commitment to strengthening our instruction to ensure the success of all of the students in our math classes in the 7 to 12 sequence. So what I'd like to do now is just take a minute or two and turn it over to Mrs. Oliver for her to have an opportunity to talk a little bit about what the math visioning process has meant to her and what it looks like in practice at the middle school. And then we'll answer any questions that people have. So,
Okay.
off to you, Mrs. Oliver.
Thank you very much. We have had a strong focus on math instruction over the past year, an extra emphasis. We feel very fortunate that we were able to add an additional position this year, which was the Director of STEM. And again, the focus has primarily been on math instruction. And our Director of STEM is Jim Grocke. He's presented before to this committee, so hopefully most of you know who he is, but he has been really instrumental in assessing curriculum and working with our leadership team as well as our teachers, and just really working collaboratively to devise an overall plan to really strengthen math expectations from grades 5 through 8. Some of the things that we've been focusing on is really using protocols for collaborative lesson planning. And a focus that we've had is really making sure that teachers are using scaffolding practices and questioning techniques that raise expectations for all students. So another essential component in this process that I feel really fortunate that we've had at BMS is our partnership with TNTP, which is part of the Learning Acceleration Network, and it's funded through DESE. And since in ELA we talked a little bit about money, this did not have any cost to us at all, so it's absolutely free. We do have a coach that works with the leadership team and Jim Grocke and myself. I really love her, I just have to say that. She's been really helpful with the work that we've done, and we meet on a weekly basis with her. She comes and does a site visit. The team does a site visit with us 4 times a year. I'm happy to say that we began with them in May of 2023, and they are continuing with us for the following year, so they'll be with us next year as well for the 24-25 school year, so we're looking forward to that. Our focus and collaborative goal that we have established with them is to continue to work on our collaborative planning across all grade levels, making sure that we're strengthening ongoing content knowledge and ensuring consistent and rigorous execution of our curriculum in grades 5 through 8. With all of this in place, we believe that we'll be ensuring a very strong foundational skill set for our students in order for them to access advanced coursework going forward. And I just want to add a little moment of strength that we have been talking about, and actually Dr. Trocheck and I and Dr. Flaherty were discussing this today. Just looking at our internal data, some good news to share around math is as we compare where we were last year to where we are this year, we're looking at about a 15 or 20% increase in our internal benchmark data from the previous year. So I feel strongly we're on a good track and excited about moving forward next year. So thank you.
And thank you for sharing that, because let me just tell you, 15 to 20 points is not a small amount. That's a huge gain. And so I think it's definitely, we definitely see the work that we're putting in paying off. I would also add the leadership at the middle school that has helped to do that. We put a lot of work and time and energy into what we're doing. I just wanted to end with this, and this really is sort of what has changed and what's staying the same, right? So where do we really sit? What does it all mean? So what has changed is that the opportunity to select a math pathway will be based on a collaborative, data-driven discussions with students and families. In the past, it has been teacher recommendation. It has been maybe one point data, one moment in time of a data point. And we don't feel that that brings the equity that we would like to see in play. I think one of the things that we heard and that it gave us some pause there's a lot of resources out there that can send you one way or another, right? So how do you accomplish making sure that everyone has the opportunity and access to get where they need to get? And there was a lot of discussion in some of the emails that I got. We don't want to hold back any of our learners. We don't. So maybe there was another way to look at it. And so our conversation was, let's let everybody take it, right? And how do we get there, and how do we do it? But we need to make sure that we do that with the supports in place for students to be successful. So that's something that we're changing the way in which we would students would enter the pathway of acceleration in mathematics. Algebra 1 will be offered in grade 8 to all students. If you want to take Algebra 1, you can take it. We'll have to figure out a way to help support you do well in it, but if you want to take Algebra 1, it's open to you. Accelerated math will be available to all students in 7th grade by the same token. Supports will be structured based upon the needs of students. So we don't have specifics right now because we've been doing a lot of planning and a lot of thinking, but making sure that if a student really wants to take accelerated math or Algebra 1, and there's some questions about the data that maybe, this is going to be a real reach for that person, making sure that we're able to offer the supports that they might need to do it. We don't want to say no. What we want to say is, how can we help you do it if that's what you truly want to do? I want to clarify, though, because a lot of time and effort went into the work of thinking about what a full, strong, foundational year of Algebra 1 in freshman year would do for students. We believe for a lot of students, that still might be the best path. We have been finding students really struggling when they're getting into Algebra 2 and into pre-calculus, and the research would tell us that that's due to not having a very strong foundational, full Algebra 1 year. So those are, I say this with a caution, that we want to make sure that we're not setting kids up for challenges when they get to high school. And we are committed to making sure that when you get to high school, if you choose to stay on the traditional path, and you take Algebra 1 in freshman year, you will be able to reach Calculus AB by the end of the high school year. So we're basically trying to do everything for everybody, and we hope that it works. That's where we're going. And then finally, scheduling will be adjusted to eliminate tracking of students on teams. And so some people have said, well, what would that look like? I'll give you an example. It may look like Algebra 1 is off team. Right? It may be that right now you take your math class on team and you don't ever leave team. You might leave team for foreign language, but you don't leave team for math. But it could be that Algebra 1 is off team, and as the only way that we can find to make the schedule work, so that we're eliminating that tracking in all of the other content areas. So that's sort of where we are right now. Again, this is not an action item right now. This was really still an update. I think there's a lot of information flying around. I want to make sure that you have the right information. Please share with anyone that is interested, that they can see this, hear more about it. They can watch the presentation that we made a little later than in the meeting, but I think they're still recording. So we just wanted to kind of bring that forward to all of you. And I just want to say thank you for all of you for being here. We talk about other things too, so if you ever want to come back, curriculum and instruction is really one of the most riveting meetings of all time. So please come back and join us for other things too.
Yeah, if I could just ask a question, I want to make sure I understood what I just heard in the last part
Yep.
of your description. If a student elects to take the pre-algebra, they would have Algebra 1 as an offering in 9th grade.
Correct.
And if a student elects to take Algebra 1 in 8th grade and doesn't have that strong foundation, would they have the option to take Algebra 1 in high
They
school?
would have they would have that option.
Sounds like
So
a
so
win-win.
really, it's like
Okay.
the option to it's a very long menu now. We've increased our menu, and we want to make everybody successful as we can.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Weaver?
So I'm new to the vision statement, and I'm just getting a lot of this information. So I have a few questions, just to clarify. Math is a powerful subject, as we know. It's part of STEM. It's embedded in most of our careers, if not every career. And I can see the importance and the reasoning why a lot of people are here tonight. But I have some thoughts on, how transparent is the information for students and families with these data-driven discussions? Thinking about what is the protocol in those discussions? How is it delivered to families? How is it delivered to students? How can adjustments be made throughout the year?
Those are all really good questions.
So I'm just thinking of those things as a parent.
Yep. Yep, those are all really good questions. And
And you don't have to answer them now, but
correct.
these are definitely things that I want to throw out
Those
there.
are things that might still be in progress in terms of protocols,
Yep.
the conception, we have the concept of what it will look like and what it would be like, but we have not, we don't have a finite, I couldn't give you a specific detail on that. The goal is to say that we're not going to, that we're going to sit with families, we're going to let them know, as we always do in a conference or whatever, how their student is performing, but help them make the decision. Is this a reach they want to take? Is this, where the direction they want to go? But instead of a teacher making a recommendation, families make that decision about what the right direction to go is about given the knowledge and the data that they need to do that.
And just to build off of what you were saying, I definitely agree with you that we want our students to be prepared. We don't want them to take Algebra 1 just to get through it and say, I did it, the box is checked.
Yep.
But I want to be proficient
Yep.
with it. I want to be exemplar with it, so that when I can go into the next content level at high school, I'm ready to go.
And that's why for us, we truly do believe that we still believe that strong foundational Algebra 1 as a freshman is probably something that families should really consider, particularly if as we look at the data, that Algebra 2 is really where you'll see big holes. If your foundational year of Algebra 1, if you weren't strong enough, if you hadn't really mastered everything that was in it, if you didn't have time or the developmental readiness to absorb the abstract concepts that are embedded in algebra. We just want to make sure that there's an opportunity for everyone to choose what's right for them. I think that it's going to be a family and a student decision and what supports are needed to keep people in place to do it. But mastery is the goal for everyone, right? We want proficiency and we want that strong year. That's what started us down this path. So I know you're newer, but our first 2 meetings, we spent a lot of time talking about, we believe in that foundational importance of Algebra 1 as you build on to all of the other courses.
And could I get access to that?
Oh, they're all available. We'll show you how to
Perfect.
do it.
Great.
They're all recorded.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Robinson?
Thank you. So we are going to continue to track, we're going to eliminate tracking for all other subjects at what level?
So
That's
tracking
a little-
in the middle school right now is a result of scheduling students for advanced math on team. And so that the way that we have been scheduling in the past, what ends up happening is those same students stay together throughout, and so classes are imbalanced, right? And so what we're going to do now is look at how we're scheduling math and make sure that it's not impacting, that impact is not happening in other grades. Tonight, our conversation is strictly around the decisions for for the 24-25 school year, which is, what are we doing in 7th and 8th grade math?
Okay, so this is purely middle school. This will have no impact
Our intention
on
is
the high
still
school.
to talk about how to not make sure we're not tracking in high school too. But that's a different conversation.
That's for
that
another
we're
day.
having.
Okay.
For another day.
Okay.
I appreciate everyone for indulging us while we went a little bit over. Ms. Kraft, I don't know if you had a question?
I know you talked about that you see when the kids get to Algebra 2 that they have some difficulties in that course. Has there been any consideration of also adding some kind of maybe like an elective that kids could take to kind of a refresher before? Because I know they do Algebra 1, then geometry, and then to Algebra 2. So any kind of that they could not a full year, but something before they jump into that Algebra 2, some kind of refresher elective.
So I think that's a great question. I don't know that we've had that right now. I know that within the pathway that we're describing, there's an opportunity to double up in sophomore year and take geometry and algebra 2 consecutively. There are just different places where there is that opportunity. I don't have an answer specifically for that, but Mr. Thomas is here, so I'm sure he's taking notes and trying to decide, how will I work around that one? But, again. And Dr. Thomas is online, correct. So, our folks are kind of, we're very aware of trying to continue to support and provide, those supports for students so that they can become truly proficient in the math.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to end us there. I don't want to put our students on the spot, but please feel free at our next sessions to bring forward your ideas as well. We look forward to hearing from the field in high school. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. Looking for a second.
Second.
And I will quickly call the roll so we can move into our regular school committee meeting. Sadie Brennan, Ellie Corbett, Kate Twombly,
Yes.
Katie Kraft,
Yes.
Matthew Weaver,
Yes.
Karen Robinson,
Yes.
Kenan Mackenzie DeFranza,
Yes.
and Rachel Abel, yes. Unanimous. We are now adjourned at 7:51. Again, thank you for everyone's patience. We will quickly transition into our regular school committee meeting.
And I'm good.
Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, thank you for your patience. We had a couple of really interesting topics in our curriculum instruction and student life, so you probably got to hear some of that. But we also want to welcome a number of our students and their caregivers this evening. Without further ado, I will say that today is Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. We're meeting in a hybrid remote meeting platform, which is allowable under the acts of our former governor, our present governor, and legislature. And of course, BevCam is also streaming us and broadcasting us to make sure everyone has access to our meeting this evening. I will call a roll call in just a moment to make sure that our remote participants are able to hear and see us, and likewise we can hear and see them. I will do that right now, actually. Let's see. I also actually just want to mention that tonight is a regular school committee meeting, and on our agenda we do have the option for speaking to the school committee for up to 3 minutes. There is a sign-up sheet on that table. We will have a pause and people may sign up before we get to that agenda item. We will do that after our student recognitions. Okay. Going down my list, Mayor Cahill is traveling, so he's absent this evening, but we're joined in person by Kimberly Coelho
Here.
and online by Dr. Ken Mackenzie DeFranza.
Here.
Great. In person, Miss Karen Robinson
Here.
and Dr. Jeffrey Silva.
Here.
Online, we have Ms. Lauren DeViznik.
Here.
And I am Rachel Abel. We are also joined by Superintendent Sue Chirocek,
Here.
our Executive Secretary Donna Bergeron.
Here.
We have Principal Mark Thomas. Here. Everyone else seems to be hiding. Principal Gabrielle Montevecchi. Here. Okay. Online, we're joined by Principal Amy Blanchard. Being a little shy. Okay. Ms. Jean Sherburne, can you confirm you can hear us and see us?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. And Ms. Bethany Splansky.
Here.
Okay, great. And Assistant Superintendent Dorothy Flaherty is with us. Great. Okay, with that, let's quickly do Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Oliver, since it's your building, would you mind leading us in the pledge this evening? Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Chirocek, are you leading?
Sure.
Okay.
I am ready to go, but I'm going to ask, first I'm going to ask, so Lisa, are you going to come out and introduce the Project 351 ambassador for us? Is there there's no certification?
No, just, yeah.
And then Ms. Lizney, she's usually a table raiser. All right, so tonight, we're just going to introduce,
There you are. Come on up, Brandon. I'd like to introduce you to Brandon, and I want him to say his last name so that I don't say it in the
Haduchik.
wrong way.
Haduchik.
Haduchik. So this is our Project 351 student. We are very pleased to have him. I'm going to pass it over to you to just share with the group a couple of things that you're most interested in.
Something I'm very interested in is like just anything.
Anything at
It's
all that you're proud of.
jazz definitely has to be jazz, specifically like playing it, because it's just something unique, and you can for soloing you can always do something new and be able to create something that's maybe never been done before, or something you haven't heard normally.
I listen to jazz in my house all the time. It's always playing, so thank you so much, and thank you for being our Project 351 ambassador.
And I want to congratulate you too. And just for those of you who are unaware what the Project 351 Ambassador does, Project 351 is a project that is across the Commonwealth. They bring together student ambassadors from grade 8, and they work together around community service. And I believe that you're going to be asked to create your own community service project. And each time we have a Project 351 Ambassador, they create their own community service project. So we look forward to whatever you're going to bring to us, and I encourage anybody to help out wherever you need it. So we appreciate that.
Maybe music related.
Maybe. Who knows? We'll see. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. All right. You want to stay up here and we can do the middle school. These are students that are being recognized for perfect scoring on
MCAS high achieving.
high achieving MCAS scores for middle school. So we have, you want to read the names and I'll hand out the.
Leo Wilworth.
If you're here, come on up, because this is super exciting. We have a gift card for you. And let me tell you, they used to be something else, and now they're Dairy Queen. So I'm into the Dairy Queen.
No. Etta Gary.
All right, Etta, congratulations.
Congratulations, Etta. Grace Corbett. Oh, no ice cream for Grace. Abigail Sidmore. Paul Harrington, who I've known since kindergarten. Annalena, I'm going to say it wrong. Venetia. No, I said it right? Okay. Henry Johnson, also known since kindergarten. Audrey Dang.
Also known since Air School.
Eva Filetra.
Oh, you're at the high school.
Oh, I'm at the high school. I'm so sorry.
Oh, wait a minute. No wonder Audrey got. She looked at me like, why
Yeah.
are you calling me?
Sorry,
up there now?"
Audrey. Henry Costa.
But Lillian Jewett. Lillian Jewett.
Lillian Jewett.
Eamon.
Eamon Connolly.
Eamon Colony?
Eamon Connolly. Excuse me.
And he's not here.
And
Thank
he-
goodness. We have time
okay.
to practice the name.
All right, we will
All right,
practice.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
And I'm going to ask Miss Montevecchi to come up and join me right now to speak to the Hannah students. Yes, you. Come on up. So we have from Hannah School,
Jay Wong. He certainly does. This is from the Commissioner of Education of Massachusetts, Jay. Congratulations on your high achievement in MCAS, my
There
friend.
you go.
Outstanding
All right.
job.
And that's for you.
Congratulations. Maybe you'll share with your brother. Congratulations. One more time. And the other student we knew who couldn't make it tonight, but we also want to give a big shout out to Felix Morales for his high achievement on MCAS as well. Shout out to all our former Hannah students who are also high achievers on MCAS at the middle school level. Congratulations.
Did Mrs. Oliver skip you? Oh, my goodness, Mrs. Oliver.
I am internally sorry. I'm very sorry.
And your name is? Camille Grant. Oh, you're at the high school, though. No, we didn't call him. We'll get you. Hang in. Mr. Thomas is going to give you that. Name? Come on up. Are you also doing high school? Congratulations. Thank you. I have two students from Centerville. So, Evelyn Savicki. I bet you knew she was absent today, right? And so she is so sorry that she missed you, but she wanted to make sure that you got that, and congratulations. All right? Thank you. Did I give you one of these yet? Oh, don't leave without it. And we also have John Walter from Centerville. You got this and this. There you go. Congratulations. Mr. Thomas. Taking it away. Right there, I think.
Yeah, what'd you do? Just jump a couple?
Is this yours?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't call it.
No, we got the whole. So, other people were stealing my students, so I'm still going to call them out. So, no, we're so pleased to recognize our students. They already got their little packet at school. I was able to call them down and notify them, but they'll come up and get a nice Dairy Queen. So, Savannah Arroyo, I didn't see her. Isabella DePaula. Alexa Filatra. Camille Grant. Ilya Ramazani. Nancy Zaimi. Riley Berman.
You're going to get two. Come on up again.
Corey Duggan. I didn't see him. Carolee Fombram. Crystal Guzman. Riley Tenson. Audrey, come on back up. Eva Foletra. Kaylee Gabalese. Jacob Prentice. And Matt Venenzia. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you all very much. Congratulations. Do you want to talk?
Yeah, we're going to take about a 6-minute recess so we can congratulate all the families, students, and caregivers. Thank you.
Well, that was exciting.
I'm good.
Okay, it's 8:15. Thank you so much. We always enjoy having the opportunity to mingle with our students, our athletes, their families, their caregivers. It's great. But now back to business. One of the things that was mentioned at our CISL meeting by one of our student representatives is that the high school is putting on its musical this week, Pippin. Tickets are available for purchase online. The seats are assigned, so you'd want to jump on one of their links to get those seats for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday for the matinee. And our own Delia Gauker, who is our student rep to the school committee, is actually at the final rehearsal this evening. So she left me with her report. I won't do it justice, but I will try. For the month of March, she reports out that the music department, is very excited about putting on its production of Pippin this weekend. Shows are Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m., and Sunday matinee is at 2 p.m. The Stage Right Drama Club made it to the semifinals with their play Medea. Many awards were given to BHS cast and crew members. I was excited to see the list. I knew a lot of those names. Winter sports season has ended, and many sports teams are celebrating the end of season with their banquets. I think I've seen quite a few pictures. And student athletes are very excited that spring sports are upon us. The season starts next week with tryouts and/or practices. Many teams are holding after-school meetings this week for students to learn more about a specific sports team. And I understand that you must be registered by March 18th for the high school sports, and that the middle school track, I believe the sign-up has closed. I think that's very well subscribed as well. March 25th, BHS will be hosting students from their sister school in Japan. BHS students are able to sign up to have a Japanese student shadow them for the day. So if there's anyone listening at home or with us that might be interested in hosting a Japanese student for the day, I've heard from prior student reps that it's a really enjoyable day. Thank you, Delia, for preparing that in advance. We appreciate you and can't wait to see the performance. Next item on our agenda is the approval of meeting records from our February 13th Joint Committee of the Whole and CISL meeting. I'm looking for a motion to approve those meeting records.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson and Ms. Coelho. Were there any edits or corrections that needed to be made? I am not seeing any. As I mentioned, Mayor Cahill is absent, so I will call the roll starting with Ms. Coelho.
Yes.
And Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza.
Abstain.
Karen Robinson.
Yes.
Jeffrey Silva.
Yes.
Lorinda Visnick.
Yes.
And Rachel Abel. Yes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 1 absence and 1 abstention. Those meeting records have been passed. They will be up on our website. And now we've reached item 5, which is an open forum for resident voice or input on agenda-related items. At this time, the president will consider requests to address the school committee on items either included or not included as part of this agenda. Any person wishing to make such a request should arrive at the posted meeting time in person or email residentvoice@beverlyschools.org before 7 p.m. with their comments. You can have your comments read by the chair or request to receive a link to remotely address the body at about 7:50 usually. We're running a little over today. Please note that this is an opportunity to address the body and is not a discussion. I believe we have received a couple of requests to be read into the record. I also wish to acknowledge a number of letters were sent to the committee, but they did not specifically ask to be read into the record. And based on some of the content, I don't believe that was their intention. So let me go to the 2 that did specifically ask to be read in. Three. Are the 3 Allison? No, just the 2? Okay. So we have Allison is yes. I don't have an address on that one, so we'll have to ask. Okay. The first one is from Amy Germond, 3 Eileen Way. It was addressed to Ms. Robinson, but asked that it be read into the record. I'm reaching out to express my disagreement with the proposal that is being considered in Beverly to level curriculum for 7th and 8th graders, which includes depriving 9th graders the opportunity to take honors classes. I think this is a horrible idea which will result in Beverly Public Schools going down in rankings. The various organizations which rank schools do look at curriculum offered to students. This will also make it harder for Beverly High School students to compete for both college admissions and, more importantly, scholarship opportunities. My oldest daughter graduated from Beverly High School in 2022, and when I went to various college tours and college information sessions, I learned that schools look at the level of curriculum for students and not simply their grades, showing a preference for students who take honors and AP classes. If math in grades 7th, 8th is leveled, students will no longer be able to take algebra in 8th grade like my middle daughter did. My middle daughter is currently a sophomore, and because she is taking honors pre-calculus next year, she will have the opportunity to take calculus in 12th grade. Changing the curriculum in the manner proposed would have resulted in my daughter being deprived of this wonderful opportunity, an opportunity that she worked hard to earn. This curriculum change will also likely result in lower MCAS and SAT scores for BHS students. I also note that if such curriculum changes go through, it is only going to result in people who are at a higher economic level opting for private school to give their child the opportunities that are being taken away. I also believe it will lead to people moving out of Beverly to get out of the school district. I will certainly be looking into other options for my son if this is the curriculum he will be stuck with. I note that my middle daughter, who took honors biology freshman year, scored well into the exceeding expectations category. My daughter, who took college prep biology, did meet expectations. Since the curriculum for college prep biology was not as challenging, it resulted in lower MCAS scores. Beverly Public scores will go down in the ranks if their test scores fall because of leveling, and this would be extremely unfortunate. Please do not lose sight of the fact that this is going to put Beverly High School students at a significant disadvantage when applying to college and could result in lost scholarship opportunities for students who really need the money to pay for the cost of a college degree, which continues to rise and is becoming unaffordable. Please do not vote to deprive hardworking students these academic opportunities. Thanks, Amy. And this one is from Peter Germond. I don't have an address. I don't want to assume the same. But, hi, this can be read into tonight's record as I will still be at work. I am reaching out to express my sincere disagreement with the proposal that is being considered in the Beverly school system, which is to level the math curriculum for 7th, 8th graders. This will include denying 9th graders of the opportunity to take honors classes. This is a terrible plan which will ultimately result in Beverly Public Schools plummeting in test scores and student rankings. Also, if math in 7th and 8th grade is leveled, students will no longer be able to take algebra in 8th grade. Am I reading the same letter? Okay. They will thus likely not have the opportunity to take calculus in 12th grade. A proposal as such does nothing more than deprive educational opportunities for hardworking students regardless of their social, economic, or ethnic backgrounds. If the proposal were to pass, Beverly High School students would be at a significant disadvantage when applying to college, and this probably will result in lost scholarship opportunities. This could be students who really need the money to pay for the cost of college, which is already astronomical. Although I'm unable to locate the article, I believe a school district in California tried this, and it resulted in much poorer state testing scores and ultimately dropped the school's academic ranking considerably. If Beverly chooses to level curriculum, I am certain this will result in more students going to private school and ultimately poorer outcomes on testing, school rankings, college acceptance, and scholarships. All things that I think are unfair and unacceptable to the hardworking students. Please do not do this to our students. Thank you for your consideration, Pete Germond. And then one more letter, Allison Lee.
She sent her address
Smithson Drive. 3 Smithson Drive, okay. Thank you.
This letter was received today. As a parent of a current 4th and 1st grader at Cove, I'm writing to voice my concern with the proposed changes to the middle and high school math curriculums. There has been little information about these changes given to current parents and a greater conversation about the changes needed. Permanently eliminating tracking and therefore requiring students to double up on their schedule or take summer courses is a major change which should be widely publicized. This decision should be made only with the support of the Beverly Public School parent community, including current elementary students who would be 7th graders in just a few short years. Making the proposed change would have multiple ramifications for students who are advanced in math, students who are interested in applying to competitive engineering schools, or those applying to college that has eliminated standardized testing. All are put in enormous disadvantage by not having straightforward path to AP Calculus. This decision would put the burden of ensuring college readiness for those students on the parents, and only those students who are lucky enough to have involved parents who push for doubling up on classes or who are able to take college classes while simultaneously attending Beverly High School will have the prerequisites for calculus. I ask the committee to seriously consider if eliminating challenging and necessary math curriculum is truly in the best interest of all students and our community as a whole. At a minimum, all current public school parents and faculty should be made aware of this proposed change before any decision is made. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to continuing conversation on this topic. Allison Lee, 3 Smithson Drive. I think that's all that were specifically addressed for the chair to read into the record. So I will say that we did receive a letter, but it did not specifically say to be read into the record. Yeah, I have 5 or 6 notes here for people. If you do want to have the opportunity to address the body, our next regular scheduled meeting will be April, I could do the math in my head really fast. What's that, Wednesday? The 10th? April 10th. And of course, you can always email or call any of your school committee representatives. Okay. Now that we have addressed that, I think the next item that we've actually been very excited to see on the superintendent report, we have a field trip to discuss. Oh, warrants? Okay, fine. We'll do warrants. Sorry. Yeah, I don't want to have to go back. Okay. So on the agenda, there are 4 warrants for an astronomical amount of money. That is basically our expenses, including salaries. And I'm looking for a motion to approve these by consensus.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. We generally don't have any questions, so I'll call the roll. Ms. Coelho?
Yes.
Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Visnick?
Yes.
And Ms. Abel, yes. That passes 6-0 with 1 absence. Now, Dr. Juracek.
Thank you. I have a superintendent's report. Hold on. Seems like a lot of work to share the screen for the one thing, but I'm going to do it anyway. So just one item on the superintendent's report tonight, an overnight field trip request for Salamanca, Spain. And I believe that Catherine is here to speak to us about that. If you can come on up. And just the and I didn't change this. Superintendent recommends approval of the proposed BHS overnight field trip to Salamanca, Spain. So let me help you get set up over there. Hold on, how do you get out of this now? I'm gonna stop sharing. There you go. Ms. Visnick, we missed you to do the tray at the table. Because you can have a seat right there if you'd like. Thank you.
Push the button. Just push it once on to green.
Awesome. Hello. So yes, hello, I'm Catherine Ratty. I'm a Spanish teacher at the high school. And our proposal is to do a 2-week-long trip in April of 2025 to Salamanca, Spain. While it's a new trip to me, I think you've all heard of it before because Mary Beth Rodolico-Linsky has done it many a time, and so I'm sort of taking the reins, but it would be a 2-week trip starting over the first week of April break and going into the following week, where hopefully about 20 or so students who are taking Spanish, or Spanish students will go to Salamanca with myself and Mrs. Linsky, and they would take classes in the morning, so language and culture classes in the morning, and then do cultural excursions in the afternoon, living in homestays with families, and, immersing themselves in the language and culture.
Sounds like a fabulous opportunity. Procedurally, the superintendent has recommended we approve. I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Dr. Silva. Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Okay, now do we have any questions?
Say, Bill, I have a question.
Yes, go for it, Ms. Visnick.
Thank you. Live from Moab, Utah. My question has to do with the length of the trip, because I don't recall, and I apologize because maybe it was 2 weeks last year, but I don't recall it being this long in the past. And so, what are the arrangements and implications around the students missing that second week of school at the week after school vacation week?
So I think I missed the middle of that, but you're asking about the implications of students missing the second week of school, is that right? So the trip, in my understanding, it has been this long in the past, and I think students just communicate with their teachers in advance, try to get any work that they can, and they know that in signing up for the trip, they're responsible for all their coursework. And so I think since it's known that they're leaving, hopefully they'll get any work that they can out of the way ahead of time, and then the students who will be coming will understand that they need to make up all the work that they're missing, communicate with their teachers, and things like that. So I think I don't believe it's been a problem in the past. It's usually a pretty diligent student body who decide to come on the trip. But I think that's usually how it's been handled in the past, is they know that they need to make it up. Thank you.
I think we lost Mr. Thomas, but I was wondering, is a beep slip, is that something that all the teachers sign to acknowledge? Okay.
Yes,
Is
like
beep
the permission slip, yes. I didn't know the term. I'm still learning the ropes here in Beverly.
Do we have other questions? I'm always excited to hear back after the trips, and so, hopefully there'll be an opportunity in, May 2025, June 2025.
Put us on the schedule,
Yeah, or maybe
Yeah.
if you have any Instagram pages that we can, have a little bit of envy.
Yeah,
for
live
the
vicariously
travels.
through. Yeah,
Yes,
we will
that
be
would
in
be
touch.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions. I know that we have seen this trip a number of times. We've asked a number of questions in the past. I assume pretty much the same.
Yes, I believe we would be
Looking
doing
over your
everything.
shoulder. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everything that has been done in the past that has been successful. So for the most part, I think we'll continue with what's been done, and yep,
Yeah, Dr.
I
Silva.
do have a question. Do students keep a journal during this period?
they do. They keep a journal, and then when they come back, they share what they learned and some of their experiences with their classes. So
Great.
the students who don't go still get to learn a little bit about their experience.
Great.
So, I see 2 chaperones on there. Do you expect to have more students than 16?
That's a great question. We are aiming for 16 to 20 would be our goal, and that's sort of, I believe you have the pricing. 16 to 20 would keep it at a slightly lower price than if it were fewer than that. I don't know, to be honest, what they've done in the past. I can look behind me to Mary Beth. If more people want to sign up, we limit it? Or how does that
It
work?
depends. No, I mean, it depends if we get more chaperones. If the kids want to go, we'll take them. We just increasing the amount of chaperones that we would take.
Whatever the school
One for
rule
every
is?
8, so-
Okay, yeah.
And don't forget that I also just want to add that they do get college credit for this also. They do get 5 college credits for doing this abroad. Yes, they do.
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if you do need that extra chaperone, habla
Okay,
español,
good to know. We have
but
some
maybe.
volunteers. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, so we do need to take a roll call vote because we have some of our members remote this evening. Ms. Coelho,
Yes.
Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza,
Sorry, it's hard for me to hear. Did you just call me?
Yes. We're taking
Yes.
your vote. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's
Yeah.
all right. Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Visnick?
Yes.
And Ms. Abel, yes. Enjoy your trip.
Thank you very much.
Do
Thank you for your
consider us if
time.
you need
Yes,
chaperones.
I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thanks. Dr. Churchick, did you have anything else on your?
Nope, that is it for me tonight.
Wonderful. Losing my paperwork. I believe I'm up next. And I just wanted to offer a few reflections from our joint council meeting that we had with our city council friends. We met with them Monday, March 4th at the high school library. We were joined by Senator Joan Lovely and House Representative Jerry Paracella. We were very thankful to have them present to us a little bit of information and then entertain our questions. And I typed up my notes, and I've received lots of emails since I've been sitting here. So let me just retrieve. I did email myself. I think one of the things that we were hearing was about the state budget timeline and the process, which most of us are familiar with already, where the governor's budget had been presented, and it reflected a kind of a minimal increase over last year's budget, where our representative and senator indicated that as it goes through the process, we may see more of a level service budget, and that was due to the fact that revenues have been inconsistent in the prior 7 months. One of the concerns is that there are little bumps and then little dips. And one of the things that Representative Paracella related to us was that the state or the Commonwealth, unlike a federal government, does need to maintain a balanced budget. And so one of the things that the legislators had to do was to actually make some, is it 9C cuts? 9C. Thank you. I lost my notes there. But for all intents and purposes, the process will be unfolding over the next couple of months with the House taking up after Ways and Means, and we should be understanding better. I think one of the asks that sort of tickled me from one of our city councilors is, can we increase minimum aid? Because right now Beverly has fallen back into that minimum aid category for our Chapter 70 funding. So that was interesting. The other thing that the legislators asked us to do was to continue to communicate to them about our priorities. One of the counselors, I think it was Ms. Bowen, had asked, whether it's better to pass resolutions and pass them along to them. But I think one of the things we heard from Senator Lovely, it's just pass along information as well. And so I thank Dr. Chirocek for taking the action item after our meeting, for passing along some of the information that we discussed at the table about some of our concerns in the community. And I think there's some more information perhaps being generated about unfunded mandates, for instance, and how unhoused students, not only is it just really disruptive to those students, but it's also a disruption to our budgeting process, because it's extremely expensive to transport students to wherever they happen to be housed at the time. We wouldn't want to not let them come to the schools that they know and love, but the costs are really high for that sort of unfunded mandate that we have as a district. I'm sure I am missing a number of the other really important questions that were asked, so I would refer everyone to the recording that BevCam did for us. Thank you, Kim Allen. It is available on BevCam's YouTube channel for replay, and I would encourage everyone to do that. We also will be having our public hearing on May 8th regarding the budget. I know it's coming up sooner than we'd like. And so any new information that we receive, obviously Dr. Churchill will be giving us updates at Committee of the Whole at our next regular meeting, and then we'll be going to public hearing. So we'll have additional opportunities to speak with our City Council friends and just do what we need to do for FY25.
In terms of upcoming meetings and dates, I just wanted to double check. We have a facility and finance and a committee of the whole scheduled for March 27th. That will be here in this building. And then we meet again with curriculum instruction, student life, and the regular school committee on April 10th. We have some other subcommittees that are meeting. I don't believe policy has set another meeting, but negotiations does have meetings upcoming, is it April 1st? Did we agree April 1st, April 4th, April 25th, May 9th, and May 23rd. So we'll have those posted on our calendar to keep you all aware of those important meeting dates. And with that, I think, Ms. Visnick, if you're in a position to take the helm, the Finance and Facilities Standing Committee has some actions for us.
Yes, thanks, Ms. Abel. The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities last met on February 28th, and the highlight of that meeting was that we had Mr. Thomas and the new athletic director present to us, and they presented on the number of student athletes participating across the different seasons, and their interest to try to drive up participation. We've been lacking some freshman teams across the last couple of years, so they have some plans for how they might be able to drive up participation. And we know a lot of good comes from children who participate in sports, so that would be a lovely thing to see. And we also spoke about our students being able to attend the athletic events without paying, or maybe with paying a reduced fee. So maybe there would be like a season ticket pass, or maybe they'd be able to get into the events that do charge a fee with their student ID. So that's something that they plan to look into, and so maybe we'll hear about that at a future meeting. Okay, so that was our last meeting, and now the Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities presents and recommends approval of the attached gifts to schools from January of 2024, totaling $19,188.17.
With gratitude, I'd make the motion that the school committee accept $19,188.17.
Second.
Okay, we do need to take a roll call vote. Ms. Coelho?
Yes.
Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Visnick?
Yes.
Ms. Abel, yes. 6-0, thank you. Next.
The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends approval of the attached student activity accounts. And what I wish to say about them is we've had these. Any given year, we roll over, like the class of 2023. Technically, their activity account is null and void, but now the class of 2024 needs a student activity account. And so moving forward, Ms. Sherburne and I talked about being very diligent about every time there's one of these, and they're most likely a year change and thing, being very diligent about bringing them forward. And so as a baseline, we're presenting this set. This is what we have now. And yeah, so we just want to vote on all of them as our baseline, and then moving forward, we'll do our best to bring forward every time we have a new one, even if it's just a name change.
For efficiency's sake, the chair will make a motion to accept the student activity accounts as of 1/1/2024 at Beverly High School and Beverly Middle School.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Silva. I'll call the roll on those. Ms. Coelho?
Yes.
Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Visnick?
Yes.
Ms. Abel? Yes, 6-0, thank you.
Our next item is that the Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends the approval of the attached budget transfer number 1058. That was in the packet approval.
Okay, I will make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Any questions? We've been tying up Ms. Sherburne. No questions. Ms. Coelho.
Yes.
Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza.
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Biznick?
Yes.
Ms. Abel? 6-0. Yes, you have 6-0. Thank you.
And our last item that we're recommending is the approval of the attached DESE grants totaling $226,150.
The chair will make the motion to accept $226,150. These are DESE grants, 125 and 422 for math acceleration and Perkins program improvement and equipment grant.
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll. Ms. Coelho.
Yes.
Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza.
Yes.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes.
Dr. Silva.
Yes.
Ms. Visnick.
Yes.
Ms. Abel, 6-0. Yes, sorry, yes, 6-0. Okay.
And you already said when our next meeting is, and I expect that at that next meeting, we will have one new policy that will be debating as a procurement policy, which had actually already come forward, but then Mayor Cahill expressed his concerns. And so we kind of went back to the drawing board and worked with the city's procurement officer and the city assistant city solicitor. And so that's kind of the only thing I can think of besides a normal standing business. But I'm sure Ms. Sherburne will have some other things for us.
I'm sure Dr. Chirocek will have some budget information, and Ms. Sherburne will have some of the usual. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for dialing in from your travels. Now, Dr. Mackenzie, I'm not sure if the internet is going to allow you to read each of these policies, or if you'd like me to take that on for you.
Yes, please, if you could do that.
Okay, thanks. So for our curriculum instruction in student life, and actually, Ms. Robinson, you had a hand in this, at the end of last year, we had submitted to the committee some policy revisions, and they had come to us a first time, but we hadn't had a second opportunity with them, and so we have them here tonight. Each of these is a second reading. They are related to student photographs. I'm just going to read them real quickly, and then we'll go through maybe en masse. Can we do that? I think we can. So student photographs would be policy JRD. The safety program policy is EB. The remote learning policy that's recommended for adoption is IHBHE. And that comes with a policy addendum, IHBHE-E. And then our harassment policy, which has been updated a number of times, will come to us again. That is ACAB. And that is the packet for tonight's curriculum instruction, student life policies. And we're looking for a motion to adopt the set as I've just outlined.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Do we have any discussion on any of the individual policies? This is the I guess we call it the clean version, where all the tracking has been accepted. We had the opportunity to inspect the tracking. This is our second reading. I'm not seeing any questions. I'm going to call the roll for the adoption of JRD, EB, IHBHE, IHBHE-E, and ACAB. I'll start with Ms. Coelho,
Yes.
and then Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson,
Yes.
Dr. Silva,
Yes.
Ms. Biznick,
Yes.
and Ms. Abel, yes. Passes 6-0. And we'll make sure, Ms. Bergeron, that we get this cleaned version back into the policy that's on our district website in the school committee section. And next, a quick report out from the negotiating subcommittee chair. We last met on March 8th and March 11th. We met with the BTA Unit C to conduct negotiations sessions. We next plan to meet with BTA Unit A on April 4th, and in preparation for that, the negotiating subcommittee will post a meeting for April 1st.
this point, I mentioned some of the other dates. We have plans to meet with the Beverly Teachers Association again on April 23rd, 4th, 5th? Well, April 4th, but then, yeah, 23rd, 25th, 25th, okay. That's right, okay. May 9th and May 23rd. That's where I keep getting the 23 from. But they will all be on our district calendar, and we look forward very much to those meetings. Next, Ms. Visnick, if you have the internet bandwidth, we have a couple of policy subcommittee policies. If you'd like to do those, or I can do the same offer that I did for Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza.
I would just be elated if we could do them in Moss. That would be fantastic.
Sure. Would you like me to read the titles, or do you want to do that?
You can do that. That would be
Okay.
fantastic as well. Thank you.
Sure. And I numbered these because I was a little confused since the agenda went to 2 pages. We have 8 second reading policy documents this evening. The first is District Security Relating to Technology. It's policy EHAA. The second is Personnel Use of Technology. The policy is GBEE. The third, Access to Digital Resources, IJND. Fourth is Use of Technology in Instruction, policy reference IJNDB. 5 is Acceptable Use of Digital Resources, IJNDC. I didn't realize there's bold in that one. Okay. The next one is Student Use of Technology in Schools. That policy reference is JICJ. And then Community Use of Digital Resources, KDC. And 8th and final is the district website and social media. That's KDCB. And just for those watching at home who might not be familiar, I'm making these policy references. There's actually a national lettering scheme for the different sections of our policy manual. And so that's what I'm referring to in those references. Looking for a motion on the second reading for the school committee to adopt the clean versions of each of these policies that I've just read.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Were there any edits or concerns from the committee on any of these policies that we're now seeing for the second time? I'm not seeing any, so I will call the roll again. Ms. Coelho?
Yes.
Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Visnick?
Yes.
And Ms. Abel, yes. Again, these have passed. They will be updated accordingly in our district policy manual on our district website.
I appreciate it, everybody. And Ms. Abel, you mentioned earlier, you know, as of right now, the policy subcommittee does not have another meeting scheduled. There has not been another MASC update. That said, please know if you're a chair of a subcommittee, Ms. Bergeron is rotating through the policies on some fairly random schedule unless there's an update from MASC and we prioritize a given policy to be reviewed on a quicker basis than our random rotation.
Right. I appreciate that update. Okay, our next item on our agenda this evening is communications from school committee members. I think we could all agree we did receive a lot of communication from members on the topic of our math curriculum and leveling. Were there other communications that the school committee wished to bring to the table? As always, we generally refer. Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza.
Yes, I had a message in the chat, and I'm sure it's hard to keep track of all the places and people. I wanted to give a little summary of our CISL meeting.
Oh, sure. That would be very helpful. I'm sorry I neglected that in the rush to get the policies voted. Please.
Well, it's a good segue because all of the communications I received, which were many, were in relationship to the matters that were addressed tonight as part of the presentation for CISL. So I will see this as a way to do both of those things. So there were multiple letters. I don't think it's necessary to read each and every one of them, that all essentially had the same theme of being concerned about the way that the math curriculum could potentially change. And so we did have some good updates about that for the constituents who are concerned that I'll mention in the summary. With regard to the CISL meeting, though, we did look at results of the pilot study that was done for ELA. And after looking at 2 different programs with 2 different types of costs, there was a recommendation to go with Imagination Learning or Reading Reconsidered, and Reading Reconsidered is currently what's being put forward. There was quite a difference in pricing as well. There were some follow-up items that came up in that discussion that hopefully you will get a little bit more information on. But it's been recommended and put forward after a lot of input from district personnel and teachers. It seemed that student input wasn't necessarily one way or another, but it does seem like there was a lot of thought and work put into that. So we're looking forward to getting those final details. Secondly, whichever one is chosen, and it looks like it will be one of those, there will be professional development provided, and we're just wanting to know a little bit more detail on what those costs will cover, was one of the questions that I had. Moving on to math, though, which answers some of the questions and also is a reflection of a lot of the communication, the district took into consideration the communications that have been coming in and reassured families that the underscoring of the changes was really about making sure there's a strong foundation in math and ensuring that there's equitable access to different kinds of courses. However, with that being the case, with the intention to remove tracking, there is going to be continued access for students who want to take accelerated courses and also eliminating tracking. So trying to achieve both goals, which means hopefully that students will get the right scaffolding and support if they do try to take accelerated coursework. And also we will continue to offer grade 8 algebra, and also wanting to ensure the pathway does lead to calculus AB as an opportunity for high school students. We will continue, of course, to learn more about the final version of this, but it does sound like if parents have been concerned about a reduction of access to accelerated math curricula, that issue is being addressed and has been addressed in the way that the revision is going. So we continue to appreciate the feedback on those changes. I don't know if anyone has any questions, but certainly we have folks in the room too who can speak more directly to any questions on that as well.
Okay. And we also have, again, thankfully, BevCam, who recorded that presentation. I know many of you were in the audience here, but if you didn't have the opportunity to hear both the ELA and the math visioning presentation, would definitely recommend. And then, of course, we always have access to Dr. Flaherty and Dr. Cherchek with other questions. Thank you so much. I apologize for skipping over that piece of your report out. Last meeting was tonight, and our next meeting will be April 10th.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Any other communications that we want to put forward? Just issue a reminder, we often get concerns that we can address the constituent by referring them to their principal and or the superintendent. Next, the chair is going to make a motion to meet an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, for purposes 7 and 3, and not to return to open session. Purpose 7 will allow us to review and approve the minutes from our prior executive session meeting from February 28th. And Purpose 3 will allow us to discuss strategy with respect to and in preparation for collective bargaining with the BTA and AFSCME units, because an open discussion may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee, and again, we will not be returning to open session. I've made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. I do need to call the roll. Mayor Cahill is absent. Ms. Coelho.
Yes.
Dr. Mackenzie DeFranza.
Yes.
Ms. Robinson,
Yes.
Dr. Silva,
Yes.
Ms. Bisnick, and Ms. Abel, yes. The time is 9 o'clock on the dot. I want to thank BevCam again for broadcasting us and recording us, making it available for those who wish to watch the recording. With that vote, we are now in executive session and wish you all a good night.